There's a piece at thefederalist.com today, which is one of these new, relatively new, conservative websites inspired by the EIB network, as most modern-day conservatives have been inspired by this program. And it's a really great site. There's a bunch of them. Campus Reform. There's all kinds of young conservatives popping up. And it's changing, once again, the entire composition and makeup of standard, ordinary, everyday, what it used to be journalism. And I think the drive-bys are the last to figure out what's happening. They're stuck in the fact that they lost their monopoly back in the late 80s and early 90s when this program came along and talk radio blew up and Fox News started in 1997. But they're losing it again. The blogosphere, the internet, there's a whole new outburst of new media there. And the internet is where the drive-bys went to find sanctuary when the alternative media, such as this, talk radio and Fox News, sprang up, started burying traditional cable news networks of the left, like CNN, MSNBC, you name it. But it's happening to them all again, and I don't think they noticed this one. They think all these little offshoots on the internet are little minority, very small, not impactful at all little sites, and they're ignoring them if they even know who they are. One of these sites is The Federalist. There's a bunch of them, as I say. But this piece, How President Obama Sold Out Charlie Hebdo. 2 years ago, a crude video against Islam was used as pretext by Islamists in various countries for riots and violence, though that same video had nothing to do with the coordinated attack on U.S. outposts in Benghazi, resulting in the assassination of U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens and 3 others. The Obama regime claimed it did. The Obama regime even rewrote talking points to blame an imaginary protest against the video as leading to those deaths. And the imaginary protest was in Cairo. Remember when the State Department, when the U.S. Embassy in Cairo issued an apology on the anniversary of 9/11 and nothing had happened? And we issued an apology in advance should there be any riots celebrating 9/11. Celebrating. This is Egypt, don't forget. And the stated purpose was to get out in front of any protests and silence them. Stop them. If we just, here we go again, admit our culpability. If we just admit, if we just apologize. We were the ones that were attacked. But if we just apologize, maybe they won't protest. Well, not only did they protest, then it blew up over in Benghazi in Libya. And you know the rest of the story. Obama and Hillary ran out all over the world blaming this video. Nobody had ever seen it. They rewrote talking points at Susan Rice on a 5 Sunday morning talk shows to make the point. And not long after that, Obama spoke to the United Nations, and among the things he said, he had this to say about people who mock Islam.
The future must not belong to those who slander the prophet of Islam.
That's our president at the United Nations, September 25th, 2012. And in that same speech, he blamed this video that nobody had ever seen. It blamed an American who made a video that justified all the riots that were taking place. Hence, their belief in this grievance notion. But that was not all. Do you remember? The United States paid for ads in Pakistan starring Hillary and Barack Obama, repeating all of the untruths spoken by the president and Hillary, claiming the U.S. was responsible for these, or this video was responsible. And the ad that we paid for, that Obama and Hillary starred in, that ran in Pakistan, said in part, we reject all efforts to denigrate the religious beliefs of others. Hillary Clinton said of the U.S. government, we absolutely reject content and message of a video nobody had ever seen. I have to take a break, but stick around. I'll tell you where this is all going. You probably can figure it out. Hey, has anybody heard from Reverend Wright on what happened in France? Well, has Reverend Wright stood up and said, France's chickens have come home to roost? Well, he said that after 9/11/2001 in this country. Did he not? Obama's pastor. Has he said that about France today? I kind of doubt it. Now, I checked an email. It's typical, these libs send me these emails. They're funny, folks. Don't matter. Don't get mad. I enjoy reading them. So what's the point, Mr. Limbaugh? So what do you... Okay, let me cut to the chase. You know what the point of all this is? By going to the UN and saying that a video was responsible for the death of a U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans, when it wasn't, by sending Susan Rice on 5 Sunday morning talk shows to spread that lie, to run ads in Afghanistan or Pakistan starring Obama and Hillary. Continuing this lie that a video, these actions have consequences, ladies and gentlemen. But the President of the United States going to the UN, 2012, saying the future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. And by the way, in Obama's official statement today, there's not one mention of Islam or Muslims. I didn't expect there to be. But we have a false narrative here, as it's now called in the Drive-By Me. We have a false template, a false narrative. We've had a false narrative ever since Benghazi happened. And my point is, this country's leadership has fed the beast. This country's leadership has fed the rage. Not just this country's, all of Western civilization, which is cowering in fear. All the civilized world afraid to deal with this for what it is. All the Westernized were thinking closing Gitmo will solve it. Getting out of Afghanistan will solve it. All we're doing is trumpeting our weakness. But when Obama shows up, the future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. Then you have the President of the United States rationalizing barbaric behavior and punishing some poor oaf who just made a video that nobody ever saw. So these actions have consequences. But our leadership uses words to cast and shape images, and PR and buzz. But the real world hears those words, acts on them, believes them. There are consequences. I have a little bit more on this, but we've said more about this hour than you'll hear all week the Drive-By Media. But you got to hear John Kerry, our Secretary of State, speaking French, talking about this.